Class, let's start with a prayer. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen and amen. Okay? So, greetings class. Today, we will be discussing a very important special law. Okay? So, Republic Act number 11054, otherwise known as the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Okay? So, this is entitled an act providing for the organic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 6734, entitled an act providing for an organic act for the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, as amended by Republic Act number 9054, entitled an act to strengthen and expand the Organic Act for the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Okay? So, this is a new law which was signed by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Okay? So, before we formally discuss this law, I will read to you the preamble. Okay? So, the opening statement of this law. Imploring the aid of Almighty God and recognition of the aspirations of the Bangsamoro people and other inhabitants in the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to establish an enduring peace on the basis of justice, balanced society, and asserting their rights to conserve and develop their patrimony, reflective of their system of life as prescribed by their faith, in harmony with their customary laws, cultures, and traditions, within the framework of the Constitution and the national sovereignty, as well as the territorial integrity of the Republic of the Philippines, and the accepted principle of human rights, liberty, justice, democracy, and the norms and standards of international law, and affirming their distinct historical identity and birthright to their ancestral homeland, and the right to chart their political future through a democratic process that will secure their identity and posterity, and allow genuine and meaningful self-governance. The Filipino people, by the act of the Congress of the Philippines, do hereby ordain and promulgate this organic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Okay? So, under Article 1 of this law is the title. Okay, the Organic Law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Okay, so by the way class, this organic law is very long. Okay, so we will just make a rundown and discuss important provisions of this law. So the political entity under this organic law shall be known as the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, hereinafter referred to as the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. So what is the purpose of this law? So the purpose of this organic law is to establish a political entity. Okay? So when you say establish a political entity class, it doesn't mean that the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao will depart from the Philippines. Okay? So, they are only given independence to self-govern themselves. Okay? So, provide for its basic structure of government in recognition of the justness and legitimacy of the cause of the Bangsamoro people and the aspiration of Muslim Filipinos and all indigenous cultural communities in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao to secure their identity and posterity. Okay? Allowing for meaningful self-governance. Okay? So, they can self-govern themselves because they are a class of their own. They are our Muslim brothers and sisters within the framework of the Constitution and the national sovereignty as well as the territorial integrity of the Republic of the Philippines. Okay? So, even though they have their own political entity, it doesn't mean that they are no longer part of the Republic of the Philippines last. Okay? So, the purpose of this organic law is to highlight or illustrate the self-governance of our Muslim brothers and sisters in the Bangsamoro jurisdiction. Okay? Article 2 discusses Bangsamoro identity. So, Section 1, who are the Bangsamoro people? So, those who, at the advent of the Spanish colonization, were considered natives or original inhabitants of Mindanao and the Solo Archipelago and its adjacent islands, whether of mixed or of full blood, shall have the right to identify themselves, their spouses, and descendants as the Bangsamoro. Okay? So, the Bangsamoro people predates the Spanish period. Section 2, the Bangsamoro symbol. So, the Bangsamoro Parliament, hereinafter referred to as the Parliament, shall adopt the official flag, emblem, and hymn of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. The flag of the Republic of the Philippines shall always be displayed alongside the Bangsamoro flag. Whenever the Bangsamoro hymn is sung, it shall always be preceded by the singing of the Philippine national anthem. Okay? So, the territorial jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro. So, territorial jurisdiction is the landmass as well as the waters over which the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region has jurisdiction. Okay? So, at the part of Mindanao, which shall always be an integral, indivisible, and inseparable part of the national territory of the Republic of the Philippines as defined by the Constitution and existing laws. Okay? So, even though there is a Bangsamoro Organic Law, still the Constitution is the most fundamental law of the land of the Republic of the Philippines, and everything should be in consonance with the Constitution. Okay? So, its composition, the territorial jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, subject to the plebiscite as provided in Section 3 of Article 15 of this organic law, shall be composed of. So, here are the jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro area. So, the present geographical area known as the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, created under Republic Act number 6734, as amended by Act number 9054, which shall subsist as such until this organic law is ratified through a plebiscite. Okay? So, the following are its territory. The municipalities of Baloy, Munay, Nunungan, Pantar, Tagulan, Tangkal in the province of Lanao del Norte that voted for inclusion in the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao during the 2001 plebiscite. Okay? And then the following 39 barangays in the municipalities of Alyosan, Carmen, Cabacan, Midsayap, Pigkawayan, and Pikit in the province of North Cotabato. Okay, so these are just matters of reading, class. I will leave this up to you. Don't worry, I will upload this organic law to the files, okay, for reference. So here are the jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro class. The city of Cotabato, the city of Isabela and province of Basilan, okay? So these are just matters of reading. So what is considered an inland water? So all inland water such as lakes, rivers, river systems, and streams within its territorial jurisdiction shall form part of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, inland waters. So the preservation and management of the inland waters shall be under the Bangsamoro Government as provided for in Section 22, Article 13 of this organic law. Okay? So under this law, the management and control and preservation of inland waters are under the Bangsamoro people. Okay? So these are just matters of reading. The Bangsamoro municipal and regional waters. Okay? And then constituent units. The constituent units of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region are the provinces, cities, municipalities, barangays, and geographical areas within its territorial jurisdiction. Okay? So as enumerated above, so the constituent units are those places that was described in the preceding articles. Okay? Now, let's go to the general principles and policy of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Section 1, Territorial Integrity and Allegiance. So, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region is an integral, indivisible, and inseparable part of the territory of the Republic of the Philippines. The Bangsamoro people shall uphold the Constitution as the fundamental law of the land and unequivocally owe allegiance and fidelity to the Republic of the Philippines. Okay? So even though by virtue of this law, the Bangsamoro are given self-governance, but still, the Republic of the Philippines under the President has supervision of the leaders, okay, of the Bangsamoro. Self-governance. In the exercise of its right to self-governance, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region is free to pursue its political, economic, social, and cultural development as provided for in this organic law. Okay? So, the Bangsamoro are given wide latitude of independence to exercise self-governance. Okay? Section 3, Democratic Political System. So, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall have democratic political system that allows its people to freely participate in the political processes within its territorial jurisdiction. So, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall have a parliamentary form of government. Okay, so the system of government of the Bangsamoro people is parliamentary. Okay. Section 4, Electoral System. So the Bangsamoro Government shall adopt an electoral system which shall be consistent with the national elections laws, allow the democratic participation, encourage the formation of genuinely principled political parties, and ensure accountability. Okay? Section 5 is Civilian Government. So governance in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be the responsibility of the duly elected civilian government. Okay? The civilian authority is at all times supreme over the military. Promotion of unity, just a matter of reading, social justice. So the Bangsamoro government shall ensure every Filipino citizen in its territorial jurisdiction the provision of the basic necessities and equal opportunities in life. Okay? So there is equality among Filipinos. Okay? Even though they are Muslims or have other religions. So still, the doctrine of social justice takes precedence. Social justice shall be promoted in all aspects of life and phases of development in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Okay? International treaties and agreements are still respected, okay, and binding upon the national government, excuse me. The rights of the non-Moro indigenous people. So the Bangsamoro government shall recognize and promote the rights of non-Moro indigenous peoples within the framework of the Constitution and the national laws, okay? So still, the national laws and the Constitution is operational within the Bangsamoro jurisdiction. Okay? Freedom of choice. So the freedom of choice of all peoples within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be respected. Indigenous people shall have the freedom to retain their distinct indigenous and ethnic identity in addition to their Bangsamoro political identity. So there shall be no discrimination on the basis of identity, religion, and ethnicity. Okay? So Article 5, the powers of the government. Section 1, powers of the national government. All powers, functions, and responsibilities not granted by the Constitution or by national law to the Bangsamoro government shall be vested in the national government. Okay, so like what I said earlier, the national government still has supervisory function with regards to the Bangsamoro people. Okay. On the other hand, the powers of the Bangsamoro government, subject to Section 20, Article 10 of the Constitution and this organic law, the Bangsamoro government shall exercise its authority over the following matters without prejudice to the general supervision of the President of the Republic of the Philippines. So here are the specific powers entrusted to the Bangsamoro people. Okay. However, the national government through the President has supervisory function. First is administration of justice. Okay, so they can create their courts. Okay, they can create their law enforcement. Administrative organization, so they can create their own agencies. Okay. Agriculture, livestock, and food security. So they can create in their jurisdiction GOCCs. Okay. Ancestral domain and natural resources. They have the right within their jurisdiction to manage, control, and use the natural resources. Okay. Like mining. Okay. Lumber. Okay. Barter trade and counter trade. So they have the right to regulate businesses, trade, budgeting. Okay, they have their own COA or Commission on Audit. So they have their own because their aim is self-governance or self-sufficiency. Business name registration, I think they will have their own DTI. Cadastral and survey, they will have their own registry of deeds and other Department of Agriculture. Okay, different government agencies which are present in this government can also be created in the Bangsamoro jurisdiction. Okay, Bangsamoro community. They will also have their own civil service commission. They can create. They can classify their lands. Okay. They can reclassify also whether it's watershed, timberland, so on and so forth. Cooperatives and social entrepreneurship. They can create their own agency that regulates cooperative and business. creation, division, merger, abolition, or alteration of the boundaries of municipalities and barangays. Okay, so they can reorganize their jurisdiction, they can reclassify the places, whether it's industrial, agricultural, and so on and so forth. Creation of government-owned or controlled corporations and pioneer firms. Okay, they have the power to create GOCCs. Creation of sources of revenues. Okay, so they can create different business. For example, maybe they can create they can regulate gambling. They can create pagcor. Okay, or they can create lotto, so that as a source of revenue, or they can create other organizations, the purpose of which is for revenue, like mining, okay, lumbering, fishing, and other economic activities. Cultural exchange and economic and technical cooperation. They can create their own school. Okay. They can create their own department in order to manage culture and language. They can create their customary laws, like Sharia laws. Okay. So, it's up to them if what laws will apply to the Bangsamoro people. And then, development programs and laws for women, labor, the youth, the elderly, the differently abled, and the indigenous peoples. Okay? So, they can create laws or organization respecting those sector. Disaster risk reduction and management. Ecological solid waste management and pollution and control. They can create economic zones, industrial centers, and free ports, okay, by virtue of this organic law, because their ultimate aim is self-governance. Education and skills training, so they can create their own TESDA, okay, even if we have TESDA here, they can create their own. They can expropriate properties because they have the power of eminent domain. Environment, parks, forest management, wildlife and natural reserves conservation. So they have the power to reclassify, to protect, to manage. Fishery, marine and aquatic resources, to utilize the same. Grants and donation, Hajj and Umrah. Health, they can create their own Department of Health. Okay. Housing and Human Settlement, they can create their own HLURB. Humanitarian services and institutions. Human rights, so they can create their own commission on human rights. Indigenous people's rights, inland waters, inland waterways for navigation, Islamic banking and finances. I think they can create their own Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Labor, employment, and occupation. Okay, so they can create their own DOLE. Okay. Libraries, museum, historical cultures, and archaeological sites. Loans, credits, and other forms of indebtedness. So they can loan because they are a political entity. Okay. Maybe they can loan to the world government. Mechanisms for consultation for women and marginalized sector. People's organization, the power sector investment, so they can create their own power management. Public utilities operation, public works and infrastructure, so they can create their own DPWH. Quarantine regulation, registration of births. Okay, so they can create their own PSA. Okay. Regulation of manufacture and distribution of food. They can create their own FDA. Science and Technology Research Council and scholarship programs. Social service, social welfare and charities. Sports and recreation. technical cooperation for human resource development, tourism development, trade and industry, urban and rural planning development, urban land reform and land use and water supply and services, flood control and irrigation system. So the government, the Philippine government has given the Bangsamoro people freedom to self-govern themselves. So basically, they are like another country but still part of the Philippines. Okay, it's just technical matters. The general welfare. So the Bangsamoro government shall exercise the power expressly granted, those necessarily implied therefrom, as well as powers necessary, appropriate, or incidental for its efficient and effective governance, and those which are essential to the promotion of general welfare. Okay? Within its territorial jurisdiction, the Bangsamoro government shall ensure and support, among other things, the preservation and enrichment of culture, promote health and safety, enhance the right of the people to a balanced ecology, encourage and support the development of appropriate, self-reliant scientific and technological capabilities, improve public morals, enhance economic prosperity and social justice, promote full employment among its residents, maintain peace and order, and preserve the comfort and convenience of its inhabitants. So basically, class, the Bangsamoro people are given freedom, okay, to govern themselves. Now, let's go to Article 6, Intergovernmental Relation. So like what I said earlier, general supervision is still with the national government. So the President shall exercise general supervision over the Bangsamoro government to ensure that laws are faithfully executed. The President may suspend the Chief Minister for a period not exceeding 6 months for willful violation of the Constitution, national law, or the organic law. Okay? Intergovernmental Relations Mechanism. So there is hereby created a national government, Bangsamoro Government Intergovernmental Relation Body. So this is a combination of the national government of the Philippines and the Bangsamoro people. Okay? So this is an intergovernmental relations body to coordinate and resolve issues on intergovernmental relations through regular consultation and continuing negotiation in a non-adversarial manner. Okay? So these are just matters of reading, class. I will leave this up to you. Philippine Congress, Bangsamoro Parliament Forum. So there shall be created a Philippine Congress, Bangsamoro Parliament Forum for purposes of cooperation and coordination of legislative initiatives. Okay? So these are just matters of reading. Okay? So there is also Intergovernmental Energy Board with respect to energy. Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Board for its development. Okay? Council of Leaders. So there shall be a council of leaders that shall advise the chief minister, okay, because the form of government of the Bangsamoro is parliamentary. So there is a chief minister on matters of governance in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. It shall consist of the following members. So the chief minister as the head of council, members of the Congress of the Philippines from the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, provincial governors and mayors of chartered cities in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, representative of traditional leaders, non-Moro indigenous communities, women settlers, communities, the ulama youth, the Bangsamoro communities outside of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, and representatives of other sectors. Okay? So the Bangsamoro Government and its constituent local government units. So the authority of the Bangsamoro Government to regulate the affairs of its constituent local government units shall be guaranteed in accordance with this organic law and a Bangsamoro Local Government Code to be enacted by the Parliament. Okay? So, still, they can create their own local government code in order to regulate the affairs of the local government within the jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro territory. Okay? So, the Parliament will create, okay, laws and government agencies. So, these are just matters of reading, guys. Okay? Now, let's go to the Bangsamoro Government. So, the seat of the government. The Parliament shall fix by law the permanent seat of the Bangsamoro Government anywhere within the territorial jurisdiction of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, taking into consideration accessibility and efficiency, which its mandates may be carried out under this organic law. So, what are the powers of the government, okay, of the Bangsamoro? Basically, just like the Philippine government, unlimited, okay, subject only to the general supervision of the national government. Okay, they also have legislative authority. They have rule making power. They have executive power. They can also create their own judiciary. Okay, so the Bangsamoro Organic Law also empowers them to have to create courts. Okay, Sharia courts. So the Bangsamoro Parliament, what are the powers? They can enact laws to promote, protect, and ensure general welfare of the Bangsamoro people and other inhabitants in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. So, they have legislative power. They enact laws. Call for a referendum on important issues affecting Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Enact a law on initiative, conduct inquiries in the aid of legislation. So, just like Congress. So, whatever power of Congress class in the Philippines, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region can also exercise. Okay, so the common denominator class is that freedom and self-governance. Okay, because this law is very long. Okay, so these are just matters of reading, class. I will leave this up to you. Okay, matters of reading. So, election for reserved seats. Matters of reading. That their term of office upon opening, okay, 3 years. And then thereafter, 6 years. Okay. So, their qualifications, matter of reading class. Their salaries, matter of reading. Okay. Still, it has a provision against conflict of interest, just like our law. Prohibited business and pecuniary interest. Okay, I will leave this up to you. Just like the Philippines, they can regulate their profession. Okay, they can create their own PRC. Okay. Matter of reading class. Okay, matter of reading. So just put it in your mind that all functions that is done by our government, the Bangsamoro can do it also. Okay, because they are given the power, okay, to self-govern themselves. So, matters of reading. So, just like the Constitution, they also have an executive branch. Okay? But, this is just a law class. The Constitution is still higher. Okay? So, the provisions of this law should be in consonance with the Constitution. Okay? So, just a matter of reading. Administrative organization, how agencies are created. Okay, civil service. Accountability of public officers. They can also make an ethics committee. Okay. Okay, so usually offices or agencies whereby Bangsamoros can really apply their knowledge with regards to their Muslim brothers and sisters. Okay, so who is a wali? Appointment of wali. Consistent with a parliamentary form of government, there shall be a wali who shall serve as the ceremonial head of the Bangsamoro Government. Okay? It's like the head. So, the Parliament shall issue a resolution reflecting its consensus on the selection of a wali from a list of names of eminent residents of Bangsamoro Autonomous Region submitted by the Council of Leaders. Okay? So, a wali has ceremonial and ministerial duties. So what are the duties? So the wali shall only perform ceremonial duties such as opening the session of the parliament, okay? Administering oath of office, dissolving the parliament upon the advice of the chief minister, after a vote of no confidence against government of the day, calling for election of new parliament and attending to public ceremony. So the wali is like the speaker of the house. Okay? So, matter of reading class, salary of Iwali. Okay. So, what are the basic rights of the Bangsamoro people as enunciated in this law? So, transitional justice. The Bangsamoro Parliament, taking into account the report of the Transitional Justice and Reconciliation Commission, shall enact transitional justice mechanism to address the legitimate grievances of the Bangsamoro people. Okay? So, because the Bangsamoro people are given the opportunity to self-govern themselves. So, rules, regulations, guidelines, circulars will not be applicable to them. So, they have to make their own rules, their own guidelines. Okay, so that's the job of the commission. So, just a matter of reading class. Just a matter of reading. I think we have discussed the important provisions of the Bangsamoro. Okay? Let's just make a rundown. Once again, the doctrine of social justice is integrated in this law. Okay? So, right of access to basic services, even though if you are a non-Moro, there is equality. Housing and human settlements, so rights of labor, like what I said earlier, they can create their own dole. Okay? Rights of the youth, rights of the children. As to their education, they can also regulate. So, they can make their own educational system. Okay? If they don't want to follow the K-12, they can make their own. For example, after high school, a graduate in high school can proceed to College of Law or College of Medicine. Then they can do that. Okay? They have the power to do that because they can self-govern themselves. Okay? So, they can create their own TESDA, vocational, technical, non-formal, and special education for the Bangsamoro people. Okay? They have their own tribal university system. So, the Parliament shall create a tribal university system in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region to address the higher education needs of the non-Moro indigenous people. Okay, so to make the long story short, they have a high latitude of freedom to self-govern themselves. Health, they can create their own Department of Health. Okay. Arts and cultures, just a matter of reading class. Now, let's discuss the Bangsamoro justice system. So, like what I discussed earlier, they can create their own judicial system. Okay. They have a Sharia court. So, these are courts with respect to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Okay. So, even though this law is new, Sharia courts have been existing even before. Okay. So this is the justice system in the Bangsamoro. The Bangsamoro justice system shall be administered in accordance with the unique cultural and historical heritage of the Bangsamoro. The dispensation of justice in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be in consonance with the Constitution, the Sharia, traditional or tribal laws, and other relevant laws. Okay? So, Sharia or Islamic law forms part of the Islamic tradition derived from religious precepts of Islam, particularly Quran and Sunnah. Okay? So, Sharia shall apply exclusively to cases involving Muslims. Where a case involves a non-Muslim, Sharia law may apply only if the non-Muslim voluntarily submits to the jurisdiction of the Sharia courts. Okay? So, just a matter of reading class. So, the Sharia courts follows the principles of the following sources. The Quran, the Sunnah, okay? Or traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. Secondary sources, al-ijma or consensus, and al-qiyas or analogy. Okay. So once again, they are given power to create laws. Okay, so they have a code of Muslim personal laws of the Philippines because they have a parliament which has a rule-making power. Okay, so jurisdiction of the Sharia courts. They have marriage, they have divorce, okay? In the Philippines, divorce is not accepted, okay? However, in Sharia courts, they have divorce, okay? So, these are just matters of reading class. Okay, jurisdiction of the Sharia courts. Qualification of a Sharia judge. Okay, just matter of reading. Compensation of the judge. Creation of new offices. Okay. Now, let's go to the National Defense and Security, Public Order, Safety, and Coast Guard Services. Okay. So, once again, this law, this law has empowered the Bangsamoro people to self-govern themselves. So, it means that they can have their own military. Okay? They can have their national defense and security units. So, the defense and security of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be the responsibility of the national government. Okay? With respect to the national defense, the Philippines as a whole. Okay? However, in their jurisdiction, of course, they have the power to create their own police. Okay? So, public order and safety, the Philippines National Police shall create a police regional office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, which shall be organized, maintained, supervised, and utilized for the primary purpose of law enforcement and maintenance. Utilized for primary purpose of law enforcement and maintenance of peace and order in the Bangsamoro in accordance with the Public Act number 6975 otherwise known as Department of Interior and Local Government of 1990. Okay? However, class, so this is just a transition. So in the long run, the Bangsamoro can create their own police system. Okay? So as amended by Republic Act 8551, otherwise known as the Philippine National Police Reform and Reorganization Act of 1998, the Police Regional Office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be under the direct operational control and supervision of the Philippine National Police for the time being. Okay? Because once the Bangsamoro Organic Law is operational, okay, they can create their own agencies. They can create their own organizations. Okay? So the Police Regional Office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be headed by the Regional Director who shall, upon consultation with Chief Minister, be appointed in accordance with the Republic Act 6975 as amended. To facilitate entry into the Philippine National Police of Moro Islamic Liberation Front, okay, and Moro National Liberation Front. So this is what I meant, okay. They have their own organization for peace and order. From the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, the age, height, and educational attainment requirement may be waived by the National Police Commission, subject to existing rules and regulation, provided that such shall be availed of within a period of 5 years from the ratification of this organic law. Provided further that the requirements of educational attainment shall be complied within 15 years from entry. Provided finally that the ranks and grades shall be subject to existing laws, rules, and regulation. Okay. So, Regional Office of the National Police Commission. Okay. So, while this law is still not operational, all agencies is under the Philippine government. Okay. Just a matter of reading, class. Consultation with the Chief Minister on police matters affecting the Police Regional Office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. So the National Police Commission shall consult the Chief Minister on police matters affecting Police Regional Office of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Okay. Jail Management and Penology. So the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology shall establish a regional office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region under its direct operational and administrative control and supervision in accordance with Republic Act number 6975. Okay? So, since the Bangsamoro has no jail management and penology group, then the national government handles this. However, in the future, they can create their own. Okay? Because they are given leeway. They are given freedom. Okay? So, just a matter of reading. Fire protection, Coast Guard services. The Philippine Coast Guard shall establish a regional office in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, which shall be organized, maintained, supervised, and utilized for the primary purpose of law enforcement over Coast Guard matters. It shall be under the direct operational and administrative control and supervision of the Philippine Coast Guard. Okay? So, take note, class, even though there are national agencies in these areas, but still, control and management is within the power of the Bangsamoro. Okay? So, these agencies will only have supervisory power. Okay? Next, fiscal autonomy. So, the Bangsamoro Government shall enjoy fiscal autonomy with the end in view of attaining economic self-sufficiency and genuine development. The Bangsamoro Government is entitled to all fund sources enumerated herein. Okay? So, during the transition, the Bangsamoro is still under the national government. Of course, because there are no established agencies yet. However, they have fiscal autonomy. Okay? They also have the power to audit themselves. Pursuant to the Constitution, the Commission on Audit shall be the exclusive auditor of the Bangsamoro Government and its constituent local government units. Okay? So the Bangsamoro Government shall establish an auditing body which shall have internal auditing responsibility in accordance. Okay? But still, even though COA is the auditing arm according to the Constitution, but under this law, the Bangsamoro Government shall establish an auditing body, okay, which shall have internal auditing responsibility in accordance with. Still, they are empowered to create um, their auditing firm or agency. Local government finance, there is hereby created a Bangsamoro Regional Office of the Bureau of Local Government Finance under the Department of Finance. Okay? So all this transition class, the Bangsamoro is still under the national agencies and national government. However, in the long run, okay, by virtue of this law, they will become independent and will create their own. Okay, subject however to the supervisory function of the national government. Okay? So, Bangsamoro Treasury Office, National Government Assistance, sources of revenue. The Bangsamoro government shall have the power to create its own sources of revenue and to levy taxes, fees, and charges subject to the provision of this organic law and consistent with the principles of equalization, equity, accountability, administrative simplicity, harmonization, and economic efficiency, and fiscal autonomy. Such taxes, fees, charges shall accrue exclusively to the Bangsamoro government. Okay, so I have a question. So, right now, the Bangsamoro territory, the national government has regional offices like police, Coast Guard, and other national agencies. They have offices there. So, what if the Bangsamoro Organic Law becomes fully operational? Maybe those national agencies will vacate, okay? And then subject to the supervisory power of the national government, the Bangsamoro people will govern themselves through their own agencies. Okay? So that's what I meant, that they are given full leeway to exercise political functions. Okay? Political functions, economic functions, okay? And so on and so forth. Because like this one, they have the power to tax. Okay? Only national government has this power. However, it was given to the Bangsamoro people. Okay? So, these are just matters of reading class, sources of revenue, loans, and official development assistance. And okay. Wait. What happened? Okay. So these are just matters of reading, tax incentives, matters of reading class. These are mostly how they manage. Okay. So, however, where all taxable elements are within Bangsamoro territorial jurisdiction, the Parliament may impose the following taxes to the exclusion of the Bureau of Internal Revenue of the national government. Because the Parliament has a rule-making power, then they have the power also to exclude the BIR of any national taxes like capital gains tax. Okay, so the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region will receive these taxes as their source of revenue. Okay, documentary stamp, donor's tax, estate tax, and so on and so forth. Okay, sharing of taxes collected by the national government. So the national government taxes, fees, and charges collected in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region other than tariff and customs duties shall be shared as follows. Okay, so here are the sharings. Matter of reading, class. Okay. A block grant. So annual block grant. The national government shall provide an annual block grant which shall be the share of the Bangsamoro Government in the National Internal Revenue Tax collection of the Bureau of Internal Revenue and collections of the Bureau of Customs. The amount shall be sufficient for the exercise of the powers and functions of the Bangsamoro Government under this organic law, and in no case shall be less than the last budget received by the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. So the Bangsamoro still has a share of the national budget. Okay? And of course, they can create laws for revenues purposes because they have their own parliament. Okay? Sooner or later, when they become fully operational, they can have their own police, I think their own military, because they have the rule-making power. Okay? Actually, class, these are gray areas because this law is still subject to a plebiscite, I think, within 5 years upon approval. So, the President approved this 2018. So, I think there's still, the people will still have to undergo a plebiscite. Okay? So, automatic appropriation. These are just matters of reading, class. Not again. Okay. So, like what I stated earlier, they have the power to collect capital gains tax, doc stamp, donor's tax, and estate tax. Okay. Loans. They have the power to enter into loans, foreign and domestic loans, bonds, notes, and obligation. Okay. So, loans, credits, and other forms of indebtedness. The Bangsamoro Government may contract loans, credits, and other forms of indebtedness to finance the construction, installation, improvement, expansion, and operation or maintenance of public utilities, infrastructure facilities, housing projects, acquisition of real property, implementation of other capital investment projects, and for the development and welfare of the people of the Bangsamoro. Okay, subject to the acceptable credit worthiness. Of course, they have their own parliamentary. Okay, so they can create laws with respect to that. Okay, grants and donation. What's the problem of this? Okay. A matter of reading. Government-owned and controlled corporation. Okay, upon coordination with the national government, the parliament shall have the power to create government-owned or controlled corporation in compliance with the provision of Republic Act 1049 or otherwise known as the GOCC Governance Act of 2011. Okay, so they can create their own, but still subject to the supervisory function of the national government. Okay. But that is a gray area, class, because they have their own rule-making power. So what if they will rule that the government, the national government cannot intervene anymore? So it would be a political question. Okay? So, matters of reading, class. Intergovernmental Fiscal Policy Board. They have their own board. Okay. Now, let's go to regional economy and patrimony. So, social justice and the economic system. The Bangsamoro Government shall establish an economic system based on the principles and state policies declared in the Constitution. Pursuant to these principles, the Parliament shall enact laws pertaining to the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region economy and patrimony that are responsive to the needs of its people. Okay? So, these are just matters of reading. Gender development, participation in national development planning, okay, the same as the Constitution. Natural resources, okay, they have the power to use their own natural resources, protect, conserve, and rehabilitate and develop their natural resources. Okay, so these are just matters of reading. Cadastral land service, they can reclassify lands. Okay. Matters of reading class. So they are highlighting different functions and agencies. Okay. We are just we're just having a rundown of this law in order to have a bird's eye view of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Okay? If you have questions, class, you can ask me anytime. You can message me. And while you listen to this video lecture, you can open in the files this law, RA 11054, otherwise known as the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Okay? Telecommunication, rehabilitation and development, these are matters of reading. The plebiscite. So let's discuss a little bit of the plebiscite. So establishment of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. The establishment of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region and the determination of its territorial jurisdiction shall take effect upon the ratification of this organic law by the majority of the votes cast in a plebiscite in the following. Okay? So the present geographical area known as the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, created under Republic Act 6734 as amended by Republic Act 1954, which shall subsist as such until this organic law is ratified through a plebiscite. Okay? So the followings will conduct a plebiscite. Okay, the areas enumerated above. Okay, so these are the territory of the Bangsamoro. Okay. The city of Cotabato. Period of the plebiscite. The plebiscite herein mentioned shall be conducted not earlier than 90 days nor later than 150 days after the effectivity of this organic law. Okay. The constitution of local government units, plebiscite question. These are just matters of reading. So, Bangsamoro Transition Authority. So, these are a group of individuals and members who will manage the transition of this law, okay, to the Bangsamoro people. Okay, so these are just matters of reading, class. Matters of reading. So these are just matters of reading. We have discussed this earlier. Okay. So final provisions. So this organic law, class, okay, amends these laws, okay, enumerated mandatory clause. It amends these laws, okay, like the Compensation and Position Classification Act of 1989, the Indigenous People's Rights Act of 1997. So these are just matters of reading, class. Okay. Okay. So signed and approved July 27, 2018 by no less than by our beloved President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Okay? So basically, class, the Bangsamoro Organic Law is a law, okay, which was approved in order to give or in order to empower the Bangsamoro to self-govern themselves, okay? So during the transition, it is still under the supervision of the national government. However, because they have their own parliament where they make laws, little by little, when this law is fully operational, okay, they will make different agencies in order to fully govern themselves, okay? And the national government will only have supervisory function. However, it's still a gray area, okay? Because the Bangsamoro Organic Law, class, empowers the Bangsamoro to create laws, okay? What if the Bangsamoro people will create law not in consonance with the Constitution? So what will happen? It will now become a political questions, okay? Question. So I think that's it, class. So if you have any questions, you can message me or email me, okay? Thank you and God bless us all.